"Hey, old man," a seal shouted across the chow hall. "Did they even have ranks back in the Stone Age, or were you just head caveman?" Laughter crashed along the tables, trays rattling as men in green uniforms pointed at the thin veteran in a red blazer by the door. The old man stopped, turned, and fixed Petty Officer Mason Rudd with a calm, tired stare that cut through the noise. "We had ranks," he said quietly. "And we had something else. Men who knew when to stay quiet." The room went awkwardly silent, and Mason had no idea the fossil he'd just mocked would be the one deciding whether real sailors lived or died before sunset. Captain Delgado stepped beside the old man. "Listen up," he called. "This is Arthur Kane, former senior chief. He's my guest observer. You'll treat him with respect." The room answered with a sharp, "Yes, sir," but Mason felt heat crawl up his neck. To keep his status, he leaned toward his teammate and muttered, "Relax. He's just some museum UDT guy." Weak laughter followed. Kane and the captain moved to the head table, and the noise returned. But every now and then, men glanced back at Mason like they were measuring him. He shrugged it off and buried the discomfort under more jokes. 2 hours later, that discomfort came back with teeth in the briefing room. Echo Platoon crowded around maps and satellite images. "Full rehearsal tonight," Delgado said. "Treat it as real. Rudd, you're running ground element." Adrenaline hit. This was where Mason shined. He walked the room through his plan. Insert by helo, breach the mock compound, pull the hostage, then exfil down a dry riverbed he liked because the banks shielded them from the ridges. He spoke fast and smooth. Delgado nodded. Solid. Questions? For a second there was only the hum of the AC. Then Arthur Kane's voice came from the corner. "What's your plan if that riverbed is mined?" Mason turned, irritation flaring. Kane sat in the back, cane across his lap, eyes on the map. "Intel says it's clear, Senior Chief," Mason replied. "We've run similar routes." Kane didn't blink. "Intel said that to us too once," he murmured. "We carried 3 boys out in bags. The enemy can read terrain the same way you do." A ripple went through the room. Before Mason could push back, Delgado cut in. "Note it. Add a second exfil. We'd rather be bored than dead." Mason forced a, "Yes, sir," but his jaw clenched. Pride hated being corrected by the man he'd just turned into a punchline. In the hallway afterward, he muttered, "Guy acts like every drill is NAM. We're not fighting with compasses and prayers." The laughs he got were thin. Passing the heritage wall, Mason saw Kane alone, studying a photo of frogmen on a beach. Something about the stillness in the old man's shoulders made Mason feel like the intruder. He walked up anyway. "Sir, about earlier," he said. "With respect, things aren't the same as your day." Kane turned. Up close, his face looked carved by salt and shrapnel. "You're right," he said. "We had less gear and more funerals. Basics don't change. Terrain doesn't care how new your helmet is." Before Mason could answer, Delgado called him into a side room lined with framed photos. The captain stopped at one of a drenched team by a jungle river. The plate read, "Operation Iron Current, 1968. Every SEAL studied it. The river ambush, where a tiny team saved a marine company. Delgado tapped the team leader's face. It was Arthur Kane, younger but unmistakable. Below, Navy Cross, Silver Star, 3 Purple Hearts. The floor seemed to tilt. "You just asked a man with a Navy Cross if he had rank in the Stone Age," Delgado said. "He buried 18 men from that river. I brought him here because we've gotten cocky. Learn from him, or end up a name on a wall." Shame hit harder than any workout. That night, the kill house glowed under red lights. Speakers blasted gunfire as Echo Platoon cleared rooms. From the deck, Instructors and Kane watched their helmet feeds on a bank of screens. Mason led from the front, desperate to prove he knew what he was doing. The assault went smooth. They grabbed the mock hostage and pushed to exfil. With the timer ticking down, Mason chose the riverbed route. It felt safer and faster. Halfway through the narrow cut, the world exploded. Flashbangs, sirens, red strobes. The monitors lit with KIA. Over the loudspeaker, the controller boomed, "Blue team wiped, mission failure." Mason tore off his headset. In the debrief room, they replayed the overhead view. The riverbed was a perfect kill lane. Delgado turned to Mason in front of everyone. "You were warned by someone who walked this setup for real," he said. "You trusted a map more than a memory. Own it." Mason swallowed. "No excuse, sir," he said. "I ignored the warning. That's on me." When the others filed out, Delgado had Kane stay. "You two talk," he said, closing the door. For a moment, the room was silent. Mason finally spoke. "Senior Chief, I'm sorry," he said. "For the joke, for acting like you're just old. I thought age meant behind the times. I was wrong." Kane sat and gestured to the opposite chair. "You know what old really means?" he asked. "It means the math went your way more times than it didn't. It means you guessed right or got lucky while your friends didn't. Every birthday feels stolen. That's what you were laughing at in the chow hall. A thief who walked away while better men didn't. You asked if we had ranks back then. We did. But the rank that stuck was the one I got the day I read 18 names to their families because I trusted bad intel. That rank never comes off." The words sank into Mason like weights. Before he could answer, the base alarm blared. "All staff to Ops Center. This is not a drill." Training shame vanished. Real danger had arrived. They hurried to the operations center. On the main screen, a coastal map flashed red. An Allied patrol boat had hit a mine near a hostile shore. Survivors were in the water under fire. Hostile fast boats were forming up. QRF helicopters were 30 minutes out, and the politics were a mess. Everyone talked at once. Rules of engagement, airspace, escalation. Delgado tried to find a plan that wouldn't start a war or leave sailors to die. Kane stood at the back, eyes on the map. "You're walking into their kill box," he said suddenly. The room quieted. "Explain," Delgado said. Kane moved closer, Kane tapping the floor. "They hit that boat to drag your birds low over this inlet," he said, pointing. "See these ridges? Crossfire. You send helos straight in, you lose them on the first pass. I've seen this trick. Change the ending." He tapped a nearby symbol. "An unarmed research vessel just outside the zone. Use that ship as noise. Lights, sirens, loud and obvious, but stay outside territorial water. Make the enemy look at it. Survivors drift with the current the other way. Your helos stay high and dark. Drop in from behind once the shooters commit to the decoy. You save the sailors and don't start a war." Officers ran the numbers. It worked on paper. Delgado looked from the screen to Kane, then gave the order. For long minutes, the ops center held its breath. Finally, the report came. Survivors recovered, no helicopters lost, hostile boats retreating after wasting ammo on the decoy ship. The room exhaled. Delgado turned to Kane. "You just saved men you'll never meet," he said. Kane's jaw tightened. "I only paid back a little of what I owe that river," he replied. By evening, Chow the Story had traveled through every hallway. This time, when Kane entered beside Delgado, nobody laughed. One table stood, then another, until the whole room was on its feet. Delgado climbed onto a chair. "Yesterday, some of you thought this man was just an old visitor," he said. "Today, you watched his experience keep sailors alive. Senior Chief Arthur Kane earned the Navy Cross, Silver Stars, and more Purple Hearts than I ever want to see. He helped build the path you walk on." Then he stepped down and let the old man speak. Kane looked uncomfortable. fingers tight around his cane. "I don't like speeches," he said. "War already took enough words from me. But I owe you an answer. Yesterday someone asked if we had ranks in the Stone Age. We did, seaman, petty officer, chief, the usual, but my real rank was the man who lived when better men didn't. I carried that into every mission. That's why I saw that ambush on your screens today. The flags change, the tricks don't. So next time you see gray hair, try asking what it remembers before you decide it's useless." The room stayed silent. Mason couldn't sit. He stood. "Senior Chief, I was the one who made that joke," he said. "I disrespected you and ignored you. I'm sorry. I won't treat experience like a joke again, and I won't let my team do it either." Kane studied him, then nodded. "Apology accepted, on one condition," he said. "When you're the old man someday and some loud kid laughs at your gray hair, remember this. Don't crush him. Teach him. Pass the grace forward." Later, as the sun dropped behind the hangars, Mason walked Kane to the gate. The old man handed him a small, beat-up notebook, pages packed with short lines and sketches. The easy route is often bait. Terrain is older than intel. Listen to the quiet guy. "These aren't rules," Kane said. "They're scars in ink. Argue with them. Improve them. But don't throw them away." A month later, on a different base, another retired operator limped into a fresh chow hall. A young SEAL opened his mouth to crack a fossil joke. Mason, with Kane's notebook in his pocket and a new weight in his chest, put a hand on the kid's shoulder. "Careful," he said quietly. "Some of the people you're laughing at built the floor you're standing on." The joke died. And somewhere in a small house by the sea, Arthur Kane sat with his cane across his knees, finally carrying a rank not written in ghosts, but in living men who had learned to listen before they laughed.